This film is based on a true story. Parchain, East Prussia. November of 1943. A young woman, Rosa Sauer, arrives at the rural home of her husband's parents after the bombing in Berlin. Herta asks how she managed to get there. Rosa replies that she could not find a bus, but was lucky enough to come across a passing cart. At one point, weakened by exhaustion, she nearly faints. Herta helps her into the house. She needs to eat something, but there is nothing in the city. The last time Rosa's husband, Gregor, wrote her a letter was a month ago when he told her to come here because it was safer. After unpacking her belongings, the girl falls asleep. In the evening she has dinner with Herta and her husband. The radio announces that if the people work diligently, it will give them a chance to win the war. The elderly couple believes that this way their son Gregor will return home. Rosa is surprised to learn that the Führer's headquarters are located nearby. He is no longer in Berlin. The villagers are required to share their supplies. Before bed the girl talks to her husband, even though he cannot hear her. Gregor promised to return from the front, but then why hasn't he written for so long? In the morning Herta, looking worried, tells her daughter-in-law that soldiers have arrived and want to see her. Quickly tidying herself up, Rosa comes downstairs and at the soldiers' request, presents her documents. The girl thinks something has happened to her husband, but the soldier simply asks her to follow him. A confused Rosa is placed in a truck with other women who also look frightened. They are taken to the Führer's headquarters. None of them understands anything yet. The first to be called is Leni Bronner. An officer searches her for dangerous items. After her the others take their turn through the same procedure. All the women are examined by the staff doctor to make sure they are healthy. After that the women are led to a set table. They ask whether they are really allowed to eat all of this. The head chef urges them to hurry. Leni is so hungry that she is the first to dive into a bowl of soup, while the others behave more cautiously. But the women are still forced to eat under the supervision of the officers. After the meal is finished, the women are forbidden to leave the headquarters for at least an hour, even if urgent matters await them. Only this way can they be certain that the food prepared for the Führer is not poisoned. Hearing this, the women are horrified. Here they serve as tasters to fulfill their duty to their country. The women are not even allowed to stand up from the table. If any of them begins to feel unwell, she must report it immediately. An hour later, once they are certain that no one has been poisoned, the women are allowed to go home. In the evening Herta and Joseph, Gregor's parents, ask Rosa whether she has learned any news about him. The girl admits why she was actually taken away by the soldiers. They will have to taste the Führer's food every day, lunch and dinner. For this the women will be paid 200 marks a month. The next day everything repeats. The cook says how lucky they are to be eating such delicacies. He added a special ingredient to one of the dishes. Sabine resolutely takes the spoon in her hand, saying that this is for the sake of victory. Suddenly Rosa asks what the chances are that it is poison. The cook evasively answers that they are the same as losing the war. One way or another, they all begin the meal, and then wait an hour, as required. Later Leni approaches Rosa and asks whether it is true that she is Gregor's wife. It turns out that the husband of Heike, one of the women, went to school with him. Both were sent to Russia. Augustine lost her husband last winter and was left alone with her son Peter, which made her harder in character. According to Leni, Sabine is obsessed with the Führer. Ulla on the other hand is the kind of woman who does whatever she wants. And Elfriede is here after losing her parents. She is supported by her uncle Arnold, a pastor at the church. However, not all the women welcomed Rosa as warmly as Leni did. Elfriede believes that someone like Rosa, a city girl, does not belong here, because this is not a women's college but a barracks. December of 1943. Sabine with reverence asks the cook what the Führer's favorite dish is. The cook replies that the Führer is crazy about chocolate. Sabine says that she is too. At home Rosa tells Herta and Joseph that Hitler does not drink or smoke, and that he is a vegetarian. Sabine knows this as well, and her admiration knows no bounds, because it means the Führer loves animals. But Joseph has a different opinion. He believes the Führer treats his tasters like guinea pigs. For Rosa, however, this does not matter. She only wants her beloved husband to come home. One day a letter arrives from Gregor, saying that he will return for Christmas. His wife and parents are so happy to learn that he is alive. They eagerly await him at home. Rosa reads the letter over and over, keeping it as the most precious treasure. Elfriede criticizes Leni for thinking of nothing but finding a husband while the war is in full swing. Augustine says bitterly that in the end all of them will be left alone anyway. Her husband never returned from the front. In the evening Rosa asks Herta and Joseph not to tell Gregor about her job. She will tell him herself when the time is right. But fate decides otherwise. Soon another letter arrives, reporting that Gregor is missing. Rosa collapses helplessly into the snow while Herta bursts into tears. Joseph tries to stay strong for them. The girl falls into a deep depression and now refuses to go to the Führer's headquarters. She hates these people. But when a soldier arrives, he takes Rosa away against her will, despite the elderly woman's pleas to leave them alone. When Augustine says that each of them is doomed to become a widow, Rosa slaps her, and a fight breaks out between them. The other women try to separate them, but at some point officers intervene and use force to put an end to it. After the incident, the women are sent to the table as usual. Rosa begins eating the dish quickly, unable to contain her hysteria. Later she locks herself in a toilet cubicle and bursts into tears. Despite the hostility that arose between them from their very first meeting, Elfrida cannot remain indifferent. Rosa, crying, says that she is now a widow. Augustine is right, but at least she has a son. Without saying much, Elfrida embraces Rosa, who keeps repeating that she hates this war. They all hate it. May of 1944. Despite everything, Rosa believes that her husband is alive and will return. She writes letters to nowhere for him. Maybe someday they will read them together. Hitler has left this place, so for now Rosa does not have to eat poison. Yet even without the daily risk of dying, she does not feel alive. But it does not last long. Ulla reads cards for Lenny and predicts that she will soon meet a man. Lieutenant Albert Ziegler reprimands them, saying that gambling is unacceptable for German women, and demands the deck. Rosa explains that it is only fortune-telling, nothing more. But Lieutenant Ziegler remains firm, saying that from now on they must obey completely. Dinner is cancelled for today, so the women are sent home. Heike invites everyone over and introduces them to a young man named Ernst, who helps around the house in her husband's absence. Heike suggests opening a bottle of wine. Sabine is the only one among them who believes unconditionally in the Führer's good intentions. Rosa raises a toast to freedom. One day, hearing music in Hitler's headquarters, she follows the sound, but her path is blocked by Lieutenant Ziegler, who accuses her of attempting to spy. Rosa explains that the music simply reminded her of Berlin. In the end, the officer allows her to leave. With each passing day, her inner rage grows. One night, Rosa wakes up with an uneasy feeling and looks out the window. It seems to her that someone is walking in the yard. The cook tells the women that lately the Führer has been extremely nervous, so he has lost both sleep and appetite. At one point, Heike begins to feel unwell, which makes everyone anxious. Could the food be poisoned? But the women are harshly ordered to keep eating. Nevertheless, Heike refuses. Lieutenant Albert Ziegler makes it clear that if she does not obey, it will be worse, and Heike is forced to keep eating. She hopes that her condition is caused by the flu, not by poisoning. Every night before bed, Rosa thinks of her husband, and every night she hears rustling sounds coming from outside. This time she manages to see Ziegler. At the Führer's headquarters, they pretend nothing is happening, but Rosa knows he comes every night. She says nothing to Hertha and Joseph. But one night, when everyone is asleep, Rosa goes outside. Ziegler leads her to the barn, where without saying a word to each other, they give in to passion. During the next tasting, Heike again begins to feel nauseous. The officers allow her to go to the restroom only after the plate is completely empty. Later, Heike tearfully confesses to the other women that she is pregnant. The father of the child is Ernst. He is young, but Heike had been so lonely. And when her husband Karl returns, there is no knowing what he might do to her. Elfrida says she can help solve this problem because she used to work in a hospital. Now Rosa and Ziegler meet secretly in the barn every night. She knows almost nothing about him, only that he is married. Albert does not seek to talk about himself. In the morning, Hertha tells her daughter-in-law that last night she dreamed of Gregor, and he was alive. She believes that her son will come home. Rosa can barely hold back her emotions. Guilt is eating her alive. Elfrida approaches the women and whispers that everything will happen the day after tomorrow in the evening. Ernst will watch Heike's children. Lenny and Rosa are present to make sure no one else appears. At some point, Lenny cannot take it anymore and says that they do not have to do this, because it is a crime and a sin. But Elfrida has already finished, and everything has gone well. One day, Rosa asks Elfrida why she left the hospital. The woman says that after her parents died, she had to move here, to her uncle. Rosa, who also lost her parents, understands her better than anyone. There is no one left who has not experienced loss. Many dishes the cook can no longer prepare because butter has become a luxury, even for the Führer. At some point, Rosa and Elfrida begin to feel unwell, and then Ulla does too. Lieutenant Ziegler arrives and orders that the women not be allowed to leave the room. Those who are not poisoned are strictly forbidden to touch those who are. The officers bring in the staff doctors to provide first aid. Now they must determine which member of the kitchen staff is involved. Rosa, Elfrida and Ulla are kept overnight in the staff hospital. The officers likely want to see whether they will survive. Fortunately, the women do survive. As soon as they begin to feel better, they rejoin the others for the tasting. Sabine begins to cry helplessly. The cook reminds them that the Führer's dinner depends on them. When Rosa tries to disobey the order, the officer points a weapon at her. All the women are forced to eat. Later, Rosa tells Elfrida that she wants to return to Berlin. But the city is constantly being bombed, and nothing remains there but ruins. They all want to believe that this will end as soon as possible. There are rumors that the troops are retreating, not the Russians but the Germans. The balance of power has changed, especially now that American forces have landed in France. By Lieutenant Ziegler's order, Rosa is brought directly to his office. He simply wanted to see her. Rosa is outraged, because she was forced to eat under the barrel of a gun. When she was poisoned, he did not even look at her. Ziegler is sorry, but he could not act differently. That was the order. Rosa says it is better for them not to meet, that she will not come again. Ziegler in turn says that he will wait for her every night, for as long as it takes. July of 1944. Rosa and Elfriede have grown very close. The war has taken everything from them, yet they do not give up. When the peaceful time finally comes, Elfriede would like to start a family. Rosa still thinks about Gregor. Albert often has nightmares in which he is ordered to execute Rosa, but cannot pull the trigger. He is tormented by guilt, for he has done so many terrible things. Many lose their minds and cannot endure it. Nazi officers are trained to show no mercy to anyone. And Ziegler tries not to think about what he is doing, believing that all of it is for the good of the country. One day, as the women are once again waiting for the tasting, sirens go off, warning of an air raid. The women are rushed into the headquarters and not allowed to reunite with their families. Only when everything quiets down are they released. Rosa tells Herta that there was an explosion. It was an attempt on Hitler. Joseph tells them that Hitler is dead. That is what people are saying. But at night, an emergency news broadcast comes over the radio, with Hitler delivering a speech. In reality, he was not harmed, and the officers' plot has been suppressed. The next day, Ziegler announces to the women that from now on they will sleep in the headquarters. After the incident, no one can be trusted, so they will be allowed to leave only once Hitler departs. From now on, the women are locked in here with no right to refuse to take part. Ziegler uses every opportunity to see Rosa. But she tells him that it is over. Even if she is no saint, he is 100 times worse than she is. These words infuriate Ziegler, but in the end he decides to spare her. November of 1944. The women are still kept in the headquarters. Many of them can barely hold on anymore and are preparing a plan to escape, even though they understand that escape is impossible. Sabine is the only one who continues to believe in the Führer and in Germany's victory, but the others do not share her enthusiasm at all. At night, Rosa notices that Elfriede has disappeared from her cot. Both of them are unable to sleep. They heard the sound of a train, so there is hope that the Führer has finally left. At that moment, Elfriede confesses that her real name is Edna Kopstein. One evening she returned home after a night shift at the hospital and found no one there. Her entire family had been deported. Edna could have ended up in a concentration camp as well, but she escaped. She was sheltered by a priest, Father Arnold, who is not actually her uncle. Rosa promises to keep the secret, and the women embrace. At last they are all allowed to gather their few belongings and leave the headquarters, and only Sabine is for some reason summoned by Lieutenant Albert Ziegler. The women are seated in a truck. Everyone is confused as to why Sabine is not with them. Gregor's parents are happy to see Rosa return. During this time she has saved enough money to go back to the city. It will be better that way, but the elderly couple cannot leave, still believing that their son will come home. Suddenly Nazi officers appear, searching all the houses for Edna. Somehow her secret has been exposed. Rosa realizes she must leave as soon as possible. The next day she appears at the headquarters and asks Ziegler how she can get to the city, since the soldiers have requisitioned all the trains. She hopes for Albert's help. He agrees on the condition that she tells him where her Jewish friend is. Ziegler knows that Rosa knew the truth, yet he did not turn her in. Now the choice is hers alone: agree to meet him tonight or not. At the appointed time, Rosa comes to the barn, where Ziegler is already waiting. He says that early in the morning a special train will depart for Berlin. Albert has already arranged everything. She thanks him. To her surprise, he asks nothing in return, and before leaving wishes her luck. All this time Edna has been hiding here, in the barn. Rosa cannot leave without her friend, but the problem is that Edna has no documents. Rosa refuses to be stopped by this, and in the morning they board the train together, posing as volunteers providing medical assistance to soldiers. They are both allowed into the carriage. At one moment the women see Lieutenant Ziegler outside. They run out of the carriage, but under the barrels of rifles are forced to stop. Rosa shields Edna with her own body, but she cannot allow harm to come to her only friend and puts herself in the path of the bullets. Ziegler pushes the sobbing Rosa back into the carriage. She goes to Berlin alone. A voiceover then tells us that only in 2012 did information about Hitler's food tasters become known. The woman who told this story turned out to be the only one among them who survived the war.